All right, everybody. Hope you're doing well. Welcome to a very short We Read the Documents live stream. I am your host, John Brisson, investigative journalist. Today, I have for you a follow up on the Fresh Air Fund. You can go back and look at the video that I did on the Fresh Air Fund for more context. The Fresh Air Fund was a fund in place so that inner city kids in the New York area could go stay with people who lived in rural areas or camps for a short period of time so they can escape their urban environment. Well, a good friend of mine, George from cavdev.org, who sent this to me, uh, mentioned asking if I knew that Jerry Sandusky, the former Penn State assistant coach, he was under Joe Paterno, had hosted some kids for the Fresh Air Fund, and I told him no. So most people should probably know who Jerry Sandusky is. He was the assistant coach for, like I mentioned, from Joe Paterno at Penn State University from 1969 to 1999. After a 2-year grand jury investigation, Sandusky was arrested and charged with 52 counts of sexual abuse of young boys over a 15-year period from 1994 to 2009. Many of those victims came from the Second Mile program. He was later sentenced on October 9th, 2012 to 30 to 60 years in prison and was found guilty on 45 charges of sexual abuse. So, yeah, and then, of course, John DeCamp said that there were connections to the Franklin scandal and Lawrence E. King and Sandusky. However, about those claims, when you go to look at the interview that DeCamp did about information about those claims, an interview does no longer exist, so we really don't know the connection anymore. Jerry Sandusky may have hosted 6 Fresh Air Fund kids charity. One of the kids stayed with the family in the mid-1990s. The others have stayed there in the 1970s. A New York City-based nonprofit serving disadvantaged youth says as many as 6 children may have stayed at the home of the former Penn State assistant football coach Jerry Sandusky. Over the last 3 decades, NBC New York has learned. One of the children with the Fresh Air Fund stayed with the accused child molester, which he's not accused, he was convicted after this, in the mid-1990s, and others may have stayed with his family in the 1970s, organization said on Wednesday. The Fresh Air Fund connects New York City children to disadvantaged neighborhoods with volunteer host families each summer in rural and suburban communities. Based on a review of our records, we have determined that the Sandusky family was a Fresh Air Fund host family, spokesman Andrea Kotuk said. We've confirmed that one Fresh Air Fund child stayed at the Sandusky home in the mid-1990s and shared that information with Pennsylvania and New York authorities. We believe that 5 children may have stayed at the Sandusky home in the 1970s, and we have shared that information. We at the Fresh Air Fund have completed our review and will not be commenting later, she added. So, yeah, that's an interesting connection to all this, that we know that there are numerous allegations of children being molested at, these sponsored trips by the Fresh Air Fund. And now we have a connection to one Jerry Sandusky. So very interesting. I want to thank George for sending that to me. It's a very interesting connection between the two. We'll do more work on investigating the Fresh Air Fund when I get a chance. And like I said, this was only going to be a very, very short follow-up. Hopefully I have another stream later today. Till next time, always read the documents.